Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in all the way from Miami, Florida, we have none other than Felix Sama in the studio with us today. How you doing today, Felix?
What's going on, Darren? Nice little intro you got there, man. I saw all the graphics flying around. I'm like, oh, look. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead with your superstar status.
We're working on a jingle for it. We got some producers and stuff working on, but we're always looking for new ones, to up,
Nice.
up,
No, I
jazz
think
it
you're
up the
doing
show.
a
You
great
know what I
job over
forgot to
there,
do?
man.
I forgot to hit a mute button right there.
All
That's my
right.
server in the background replaying the episode. So at least I know we're going live, right?
There you go. There you go. What's
Awesome. Well,
going
thank you
on?
so much for being here today. Wonderful pre-show interview, or I guess interview. It almost was an interview we had before the series, getting some of your background, listening to a lot of my background, though, and we'll talk about that stuff later. But we're here to talk about you and what you have going on down there in the city of Miami. And you are a kid. You're like a brother in the sense of the world of media production, because you were a radio personality and TV host before you transitioned into becoming a full-time producer.
Yes.
When did that process start? What got you into the game? And let's hear that history.
Yeah, man. I mean, it started in my early 20s. I think I was about maybe 24, 25, but I
So wait, this
always
is like 10 years ago?
I always, I would hear, DJs mixing on the radio, and I'd be fascinated by the master mixes that we said. There was a radio station out here called Super Q, and they used to do these master mixes on the weekend.
Okay.
And then I would go to parties and I would see DJs mixing, and I saw that the DJs had all the girls around them and everything. I was like, man, maybe that might be a good job for me to have. And I just, started off like most of us DJs. Well, the equipment's done changed, but back then it was turntables. I'll be honest with you, my first setup was a turntable and a tape deck. All right, so I used to play the tape deck and mix into the turntable. That's how prehistoric it was back in the day. But anyway, fast forward, learn the art of mixing, and then we would practice in my room all the time. And then one of my friends was an intern at a radio station. So I put together a hot ass mix, gave it to him, and said, give it to whoever you got to give it to that can get me a job there. And he gave it to the head mix show DJ there. His name was Phil Jones. Phil heard it. He said, wow, this guy's incredible. I want a meeting with him. And I sat in the meeting, and they said, yo, we want you to be a part-time mixer on the radio. It was Hot 105 at the time. And that's how I started my career, from doing part-time mix showing to on-air talent to producing the morning show. And it just kept going on, and I made it a full-time career.
That's funny because I had a similar experience where I was in high school, and we had the first ever video production class. I was 17 years old, a senior in high school, first ever video production class in the state of Washington. And I had been playing with video cameras since the age of 6. But I came out of that class, and the teacher loved me because I knew how to work a camera and understood what VHS decks were, and doing deck to deck editing with VHS decks. But walked right out of that into a hip hop public access television show at 18 years old, and worked on and off of that for about 8 years as a kind of over glorified production assistant. And then, left that to go pursue my dreams of being a television producer, and walked into my first year of doing that, exec the show to Fox, and the rest kind of was history after that. And then moved into online platforms. And as you know, the industry has grown and changed over the years, and distribution has become what I like to refer to sometimes in the electronic music industry as zero barrier entry point. Content wise, quality content wise, it's still a little hard. You still got to produce compelling stuff that people are going to want to watch and listen to, and keeping up to date on that can be obviously a full-time job, as you know.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you used to spin on decks and a cassette tape, mixing, and when you started out in your early days. Do you remember the first ever record that you bought? And is it worth mentioning, or is it embarrassing?
No, it's not embarrassing. I think it was a Stephanie Mills record. Was one of the first records I ever bought. I know Sugar Hill Gang Rapper's Delight was definitely one of the first records that I ever bought. So those are the ones that I remember going to, Specs Music and and digging in the stashes over there. And then that's how I started my collection, man. And then disco was big back then, so a lot of disco records, Cerrone, Foxy. These are like, classic, artists and producers from back in the day, and a lot of funk, like Cameo and stuff like that, the Barclays and all this really, man, nostalgic stuff that we used to collect. And then the freestyle genre came into the picture, and I used to collect a lot of the freestyle music. So I really had no like one genre of music that I would collect. I would collect everything that was appealing to my ears.
Mm-hmm. And obviously back in the vinyl days, is again talking about that barrier to entry being limited back then. Because if they only pressed a few thousand records that went out nationwide or worldwide, you had it you had the golden candy in your crate. But nowadays, people can access, and everyone can, 1 million downloads in one day or 100,000 downloads in one day, and everyone has that track
definitely
in their library. Do you feel that the age of the DJ, even though while the barrier to entry is gone, that it's lost some of that in the art of finding that golden track that may have only made it to vinyl, that now everyone can get access to that? Has that changed the game, obviously, as in the barrier to entry moving, but
it's changed the game in terms of access to music right now. If you know where to go, you could basically get whatever you want and as fast as you want it, especially if you're in a digital pool. You just got to be that one that's going to sift through, the new stuff that just came out, bro. Yeah, you got like freaking 300 songs that come out in one day. You know what I mean? So if you've got enough time to go through 300 songs, man, good luck, especially if you're doing different genres. If you're doing reggaeton and house and hip hop and, you know what I'm saying, and dance hall and all of that, boy, good luck, buddy, because you're going to be doing that all day long. So whichever way you cut the mustard, yeah, it's a different game, but you still have to have an ear. You still need to know how to position that song properly. You still got to know when to play the song where you're going to get the most reaction. So there's still a skill set that you need to have in order to be a bona fide pro DJ.
Exactly. And that's, I remember when I first started the show, I was going to learn how to DJ. I'm not a DJ. A lot of people mistake this for the fact the show being the DJ sessions that I'm a DJ. And I'm like, okay. No, I just play one on TV. I'm not a real DJ, because I wanted to do what I did best, was being an exec and doing the video and the technical stuff that goes on behind the scene, the lights, camera, action. I like that tech stuff since I was a kid, but I also like the contracts, negotiations, sitting down and talking with major partner companies that you are with, and want to give a shout out to Megan over at MN2S for arranging this interview.
What's up, Megan?
And being on the back end of doing this stuff. But this is fun. I mean, I never was supposed to even be a host of my dang show, but the show must go on in the business. So, yeah, it's been very interesting seeing that happen over the years. But when I went to learn how to DJ, I remember the first person said to me, I go, how long do you spend looking for tracks each day? The guy was like, 3 to 5 hours. I mean, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, even if I spent half of that amount of time, an hour and a half a day to 2 hours a day. I mean, hey, I got Netflix and chill time. I got to get going on. I got shows I like to watch. I'm a movie guy.
That's a real professional DJ. If he spends 3 to 5 hours a day, I would be doing that as well. I don't spend that much time because right now, most of the events that I'm doing are throwback events, so I don't need to do a whole bunch of research. I still do my research, don't get me wrong, because especially now that I'm going to move more into doing EDM venues and things of that nature, I got to do a lot more research and homework. But yeah, that's the time you have to allot to that, because if you're going to stay on top of the game and you're going to be on top of the food chain, you need to be the one that's up on one, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. And I just wouldn't have the time to do that. We've joked around the idea of me back in the day. I wanted to be one of the world's known as the world's first ghost DJ. Unfortunately, Paris Hilton beat me to that. But I'm sure it's been known to other people out there. But it was kind of just a running joke that I could get up there. I remember talking with somebody back in the day. I was working for Apple, and I said. And this came because I was backstage at a show. Won't name the band I was watching, but I saw the guy, the DJ, for the DJ portion of the set. They had a limited set setup. They didn't have the full band setup. They had the whole studio track. But the guy was behind the decks. He pulls out an iPod. Audience couldn't see us. Hits play on the iPod, sets it down, and then he's kind of DJing over the top of that because it's probably coming in the aux port. But all the backtrack of the music that was needed to hit for the song was played on that iPod. And I'm like, well, wait a second, why couldn't a DJ just do that? And I got in an argument with my coworker at Apple. He's like, he was a DJ. He goes, no, people would know. People would know. And I go, how would they know? If you're up in the DJ booth, back when the DJ booth was hidden, up here, and you hit play, how would they know if it was really banging? You really put a nice banging mix together that you didn't hit a play button. And you're up there.
I mean, you could easily. There's DJs out there that pre-record their mixes and pretend like they're live all the time.
Exactly. Or they practice their mixes so well. I just saw this something on Facebook. I won't name the artist. I don't know who the name of the artist is.
They memorize the moves and the mixes.
There you go. And they know exactly their points. They know their coup point. They know everything because it is a stage show. I get it.
Guys, do it live. Yeah. Don't be pre-recorded because we're going to get you. We're going to get you. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, now you got all the people backstage with the phones and everything now. And it's like you get the people in front of the crowd and there's and it's like, you're being filmed right now, don't you? Is it some of these times I watch this, I'm wondering, is this a parody video? Is somebody letting somebody jump up on the decks and just pretending like, hey, watch this. We're going to let you come up here and just pretend you're hitting the buttons and we're going to make a video. It's going to go viral that it happened at this show. And then it's not even a real thing. Maybe, but I think some of these people are getting called out on it now. But, going back, forget about people faking it to make it. We don't need to talk about that. I want to talk about breaking it. What was the first incident that you could think of that was your biggest break for your career that launched your overall, I'd say DJ career, because we're the DJ sessions, because it sounds like you already, you did mention going in the radio station and getting approved there, but really, did you consider that a big break, or was there a bigger one that kind of launched you?
That was a big break for me to be known locally, right? Mm-hmm. So even though, people would come down here to Miami, we're talking like the 90s, early 2000s, people would come down here to Miami. They would record the mix shows. And then, I would get phone calls from promoters that lived in the Cayman Islands or Curacao or wherever it is. And they're like, hey, we got your mixtape. We want you to come down. How much you want? So, you would get a lot of bookings through the mix shows that they would record. But what made me an international artist was when I started working at Telemundo. I worked for their second channel, which was called Mundos. The first TV show I did with them was called Upbeat. I came up with this is before video mixing was ever even,
nice.
I came up with the concept to do video mixes on my show. So what I would do is I would record a mix, and then I would find the videos to those mixes, and I give it to my editor, and I go, do me a favor, listen to my mix and edit it accordingly so it translates to the audio. And that's exactly the way I used to end my show. And now we're going to go into this bad boy mega mix. And that was the beginning for me and for what I've seen that was out there, video mixing. But aside from that, it was a cool show because we introduced reggaeton music to the market. We would fly in Daddy Yankee and Nicky Jam, Tego Calderon. So all these artists, these superstar reggaeton artists that were really just starting their careers or only famous in Puerto Rico came on to the show, and we had a big platform. We were on all the different countries and the U.S. and all the cities. So they were getting major exposure on the Roof TV show, which was the second show that I did. It was a 2-hour interactive show. So we did it live in the studio, and we had correspondents that worked in LA, correspondents that worked in New York. So we would toss to different cities, and then we would play music videos and have content within the show. The set looked like a rooftop. That's why we called it nice. And we did that show. I was on that show for about 2 years. And we traveled all over the place. We would go live at clubs in Honduras, Puerto Rico, Colombia, you name it. We went all over South and Central America, and the show was a hit, man. Let me tell you, we had a lot of fun, and we broke a lot of good music.
You sound just like I said, brother, akin to exactly what I've been wanting to do here for years and going to be
Yeah.
doing here shortly, as we talked about pre-show stuff. We were really ramping up in 2020 to do some awesome stuff, but then something happened there. I can't remember what it was. I think it's something little in the world happened.
Yeah.
But awesome stuff. When you've done all of this and been at that level, can you pinpoint what maybe the best business decision you've ever made when it comes to in regards to your career? Was there another definitive moment that you said, I'm switching this, or I'm doing this, or I really realized I need to learn about this, and that made leaps and bounds in your world as far as the entertainment world? Is there one defining moment that you can think that really launched that you can bring
I
up the
think when
best
I
business
started
decision
my
you made?
DJ entertainment company, I basically said, look, I'm getting a lot of exposure, so let me start this DJ entertainment company, and then I would hire out DJs to do the weddings, the bar mitzvahs, the
Mm-hmm.
corporate affairs, and things of that nature. And then I started the first DJ school down here in South Florida. This was back in 2000 with my partner Corey Feldman. We started the Rhythm City DJ School, and that was a business move that I'm very proud of as well.
Nice. I've worked with people in the past that have done the same kind of ventures, and it's. I think those types of. I actually ask people from time to time, do you think that DJing should be something that's taught along with other music programs in school? If they still teach music programs in school. I mean, when we were in school, you had band, you had choir,
Yeah,
you had
you gotta
now
have
you might.
turntablism, man.
You
Come
don't
on
have
now.
turn to do some turntablism in there now, and I think that would be awesome to see a more funded with grants or education.
Yeah.
Us ourselves. I know you have a
I think there's
nonprofit.
colleges that have DJ programs now. I'm
Yeah,
not
the
sure, but I
colleges.
think I don't know if it's Berkeley, but I heard and I saw in the news that there's, especially overseas, there's like schools overseas in Asia that
Mhm.
like that's like a regular curriculum, like it's part of the system for
Yeah,
real.
you know. What was I going to go on? Is you mentioned that you started your organization as you have a nonprofit that you run. Is that the same organization that's been running since then, or is that a different nonprofit that you
That's
have?
a different nonprofit. I
Okay,
became president of USA Breakin'
say
about
breaking.
5 years ago, and we promote breakdancing throughout different cities. Basically, we're a 501c, and we do events where breakers and DJs can kind of find a safe place to do their competitions. We've done them in New York, we've done them in LA, we've done them in Vegas, down here in Miami. We hold a lot of events as well. And it's a good way to give these kids a place where they can exercise, be healthy, and learn the art of breaking and DJing. So I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that with my partner Speedy Legs and the rest of the board members. Shout out to USA Break, and we're looking to ramp up in a heavy wave to finish out the year.
Well, it's definitely awesome. Thank you for setting those types of things up, working with those and building that kind of infrastructure within your community and promoting that worldwide. I think that's something that's missing in a lot of markets that I've seen, is the fostering of legacy or the fostering of growth. A lot of people get into this and you want to be like you mentioned earlier in the show, you were at the house party, you saw the DJ and is surrounded by the girls and getting the attention. Is I want to be that. Where
Mm-hmm.
you didn't just make that your career and end right there. You took it to the ninth level, 10th, keep going level. And that's awesome, to build and leave legacy within the communities. I think that's something that gets missed a lot with people in a lot of different art form genres. But you see this happening a lot in the electronic music world is, I call it out now in my market. I'm not afraid to say anything about it, but our market has a ceiling, and that ceiling is very low because of the lack of middle management
Yeah,
fostering. That you really, the best somebody could achieve in our market is maybe playing in our local nightlife scene.
yeah,
Insomniac isn't coming here and cherry picking DJs out of Seattle and going, here, come be on the main stage with us. Or, all the big festivals, they aren't doing that. And you and I know this game is run on money. You know, if you have money nowadays, it's you're in. Talent can be fleeting, but if you put some money behind you, you could be up there on some stages or have the followers and the likes and all that accolades on which now people are looking at. I mean, I talked to 30-year veterans and they're producers, know everyone in the industry, and they're not getting booked for shows because they want the Instagram people. Their socials are down, but this person's socials are up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And, you know, I bring this up from time to time, the pie graph of back in the day, you know, it used to be 80% talent and music and 20% promotion. Now it's 80% social media promotion and 20% is your talent,
Yeah.
your skill,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't get into the whole debate of, you know, vinyl versus sync button versus digital versus AI, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, I was just seeing something, Paul Oakenfold did an article and, you know, he's like, hey, you know, you got to embrace, while technology has kind of made the barrier for entry, as we mentioned, almost zero, you still have to embrace technology and what's moving forward.
Yep.
You can't just pigeonhole yourself and think, oh, I'm stuck here and it's going to come back one day. And you'll be looked at in history as like, I don't know, who is that person? And they're not even in the history books anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You got to keep up with the technology.
So, you know, unfortunately, in our market, and I know this happens probably in a lot of when we talk TV talk, you know, DMAs and you know, Seattle's in the top two, in the top tier 2, right there, almost tier 1. We're famous for some stuff, but you know, you got markets like Miami, New York, Chicago, LA, you know, come into play, San Francisco coming into play, and you kind of say, well, what's going to make somebody want to, you know, pick somebody from Seattle to go play in any of those markets when they already have thousands of people? There's tens of millions of people in those markets. We got 2 million.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you stand out? Any advice that you may have, basic in a kind of nutshell advice you would have to an up and coming producer / DJ to break out of those smaller markets? And then we got the internet now too, which is wonderful for collaborations, but any advice you could give for them to break through out of their local market genre? Like if there aren't organizations like yours set up.
Yeah, be special. No, seriously, be special. Bring something new to the freaking table. You know what I mean? Like, really do your homework. Figure out what's going to separate you from the rest of the DJs that are out there. Find your niche, you know what I'm saying? And hone in on that. Do your homework. Practice. You got to bring something new to the table. If you're just going to wait for the break part of a song and mix out of it, that shit ain't gonna get you to the next level. I'm sorry, but it's not. You got to be unique. You know, I'm a big advocate of DJs producing. You know, if you're not producing, maybe that will start to separate you. You know, produce your own music, do your own mashups. You know what I mean? Find something original that you bring, even if it's from other songs and elements that already exist, but put your spin on it. You know what I mean? Find something that you can do that's going to separate you from the herd. That's the advice. I know it's generic, but that's the advice I would give to DJs that are on the come up right now. It doesn't matter if you're from Seattle or India. You know what I mean? If you're doing something different and people are gravitating to you on social media, then that means that promoters are going to notice you as well. And that means that you're probably going to get a phone call at some point in time, or you need to do your research and push your performances to these promoters and tell them, look, you know, this is what I'm doing. And I think it'll work at your venue. You got to sell yourself, bro. You got to,
and that I'm glad you brought that point up, because as we were talking pre-show, you know, I gave you a little bit of our launch strategy, what's going on behind the scenes. You know, we've been doing our show for 16 years. And with the advent of podcasting and live streaming blowing up over the last, you know, especially in 2020, I think there was a 200-300% growth in podcasting, you know, probably even more than that in live streaming for those that wanted to go that route as well. But, you know, what's going to set our brand different from a different interview show or a different DJ show that's out there, you know, and I believe content is king. So I'm trying to acquire and get, you know, 60 to 100 hours of content a month. So our brand would be, you're coming back, you're seeing something new every 3-4 times a day. There's 700 news stories, or there's multiple interviews, or there's exclusive mixes, or there's syndicated content from other people coming in as a collective of all sharing, or new music in our music section. Those kind of things that keep people wanting to come back. And it's not the look at me, I'm the Darran Bruce show. This is, I'm trying to get this information to share with other people what we find is cool. I mean, heck, probably if the internet wasn't here, and you weren't coming to Seattle, I never would have known about you. Unless
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if it was back in the day and we go, early 2000s, I mean, yeah, the internet, okay, yeah, www.com is all there, but really, I mean, we would have been still hyper focused in our blinder market. Unless I went to Morning Music Conference in 2009 and maybe saw you at a pool party and said, let's connect. And you handed me a business card and I got your phone number, I'm like, what's up?
Yeah.
Maybe we Gmail with each other back and forth. But, that collaboration can happen now around the world in real time. I mean, this is a live interview. We're really right here. It's awesome stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that being said, excellent advice is find your own niche, find what you want to do, stand out from the rest, be different, and that's going to attract somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
the eyeballs that are looking at us now, I can't share the information, but I told you some stuff we're working on before.
Yeah.
They're going to look at us.
And truth be told,
like
that's what captivates me. What captivates me, like, when I'm scrolling, which I shouldn't be doing as much as I do sometimes, but when I'm scrolling, I'll stop if I see a DJ doing something that's cool. You know what I mean? But if I see a DJ just, top 5 EDM songs, then I probably won't, stay. But if I'm scrolling and I see, a DJ doing a mashup live or something, that's really unique, I'm like, oh, okay, go ahead. You got my attention. What you got? Rock with it. You know what I mean? So there's something to be said about being original.
Yeah, and that being original and trying to stand out from the rest of the crowd, there's usually a motive behind that, and that word could be defined in one simple word: success. How would you define success as a DJ / producer, not just for you yourself, but for somebody out there saying, hey, that you're successful, you're doing what you want to do? Is it a Beatport top 10 hit, sold out tour? What are your thoughts on that?
Success for me is creating value for others. That's success for me. So when I say that, I say when I produce this music, I'm producing it for everyone that wants to hear that message, because every song has a different message. Your Last Call for Love, that song right there, I wrote that song because a lot of times you're in a relationship and you're getting sick and tired of the cheating. You're getting sick and tired of the disrespect. And you get to the point where you're like, okay, it's ultimatum time. Either we're going to straighten this out and do what we got to do in order to get back in love again, or this is the last call. It's not a last call for a drink. It's last call for love. I'm moving the hell out. So I find that doing that for me gives me satisfaction. And if I can make people feel good through producing music, then to me, that's a win. And that's being successful. So I don't know if I answered it exactly the way you wanted it to, but I want to provide as much value as I can through my music to the masses. I can't hear you anymore. Okay.
I muted my mic because I was checking your Instagram feed to see if anyone had any questions over there. But no, everyone's version of success is different.
Yeah.
And that's a very, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that question. A DJ might be successful just playing in their bedroom. A DJ might feel successful. They're
That
even
might
just
be your
mixing
success.
tracks.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
got it down. They might not have to play parties, but they're like, I mean, I think their goal as a musician or in the music business is to go out and get an audience in some shape or form, not just playing in your bedroom or even if you're just playing house parties, hey,
Yeah.
I like playing music. I don't want to be on the stage. I don't want that, but I churn the party out. I'm up there and the girls come and surround me and I like to have fun, or guys or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to me, like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I want Grammys. Yeah, I want, 50,000 plus arena. I want all of that. But that's not the main motive, bro. It really isn't. For me, the main motive is working with like-minded producers, artists, and DJs that I genuinely love to work with, putting great music out there that people actually that actually makes them feel good. And that's really like the main core for me. And then everything else is an extra add-on bonus for me.
It's a friend of mine asked me once back in the day who I started all this stuff with when I got on that public access television show. And after years of doing this, he came to me and he said, so Darran, when did this stop when did this start becoming about the money and you stop being fun for you? I said, it never was really about the money. It always has been fun. It's fun getting the money, but the money that I want is not your version of what he thought of, just lining my pockets with dollars and being rich. My money was running a successful corporation that I could have facilities, studios, staff, a Learjet, Black American Express card, so I could fund and do the things and projects that I wanted to do and earn a profit with that company being in business, not a failing in the red zone company, and be able to pay people, create jobs, create legacies with that. And no offense to my homeboy, but that takes capital to run a company. So yes, I had to make my brand and look at making moves that would be revenue generating as a business owner,
Yes.
as opposed to a hobbyist or an extreme hobbyist that never puts it on the books, never has a business license, doesn't have a domain name, doesn't have a website, doesn't have any marketing or PR, or, they're just trying to wing it and then claim they got something. And it's like, that's lots of people out there like that. And I support all of them. If they came to me knocking on my door, just like what happened in 2020, knocking on, how do I do this? How do I make this? You've been doing this for years. What secrets do you know? How do you get so many views and make it in the top 10 on Twitch? Okay, right there, I got to stop. I'm not giving you all my secrets,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be my competitor. But I'm still there to help others if they're starting out brand new. They've been in the industry for years. If you hit me up and had a technical problem, you go, Darran, how did you get around this? Hey, information right to you, Felix. Boom, you just saved me tens, thousands, however, hours, dollars from a quick question just by networking with somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a source of success as well. So again, no right or wrong answer to that question, but definitely, yeah, right on point. And congratulations for that. I do want to talk with, though, you do something that I thought was really interesting. I want to talk with you about. You made a note of this to me to talk about, but I want to talk with you about it because it fits right in line with almost what I just said. You do this greatness coach. Tell us about your greatness coach thing. Is that a program? Is that what is that all about?
Yeah, it's something that I'm developing, and we're almost ready to go public with it. But it's called the Rockstar Mindset.
Okay.
So basically, everybody's got a rock star within them, and some people don't know how to tap into it. So I want to, because of all the experience that I've had throughout my music career and dealing with, radio and TV, just, ups and downs, peaks and valleys through all that. I've got a lot of personal experiences that I can speak on to help DJs, artists, musicians, even people that don't come from the music business, how to get over the hump, how to be in front of people and present themselves properly. So we basically want to give you the opportunity to find greatness within yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's what the Rockstar Mindset is all about. I do a lot of interviews with celebrities and DJs, and we talk about overcoming obstacles. We get into a whole bunch of different topics. And through all these conversations, we're going to compile them all and make them available on a website called felixsama.com. And that's where you'll be able to have a community where you can pay a subscription and be a part of all the flyaways that we do, all the think tanks that we do, all the mindset, all the high ticket offers. You could be a part of all of that, depending. You pick and choose what you want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That is a definite undertaking, and I'm super excited to see when you get that launched out there. Let us know about that, because
absolutely,
that's exactly the type of information we want to share to our viewers. And again, like you said, I believe you're right. There is a rock star within everyone, but in the current, let's say, U.S. education system, it's not set up for you to go after a career like that anymore. I mean, obviously, when you hear that they're cutting music programs, they're cutting arts programs, and they're focusing on education. I mean, when I was a kid, we had wood shop, sewing, art class, metal shop, wood shop, choir, band. This is in grade school, in middle school, 6th through 8th grade. And then when you went to high school, they had auto shop and electricians class, electric class, electronics. I mean, I took a futurism class, and I'm just wondering what the curriculum is like now. They aren't really focused on the arts as much that I hear. I haven't been to a high school or look at the curriculums. So hitting the world after getting a high school diploma and saying, hey, I want to go do this. Where do I go? And you've got to go to the streets almost. I mean, I used to go to Barnes and Noble and grab a book off the shelf. If the library didn't have it, Barnes and Noble had the latest edition of the business book I wanted. I'd sit there in Barnes and Noble and read the book because I didn't have the money to buy it, put it back on the shelf. Or I'd go to Guitar Center and I'd play on the gear in the Guitar Center. People were spending thousands of dollars and be in the manual. And the guys would be behind the counter. They knew me and they'd be like, Darran, you want the manual? I'm like, yep, give me the manual. I'd sit there for 3 hours playing with the gear all around with it before I spent thousands of dollars on it. You know,
exactly.
And so
it's an ecosystem, man. You know, all the more reason to have a community like that where you can rub elbows with professionals that are in the game, radio programmers, radio personalities, you know, singers that have been doing it on a high level for 30, 40 years. For you to be able to sit there, imagine going on a retreat where we're going to produce your next song and we're sitting down and we're chilling and we're vibing and writing music, and it's going to be a blessing. Not only that, because it's not only for musicians, it's also for people from all different walks of life. You could be a dentist, you could be a lawyer. You still need to have that rock star mindset, man, if you're going to be on top of your game. And that's really what it's all about. It's about finding the best version of yourself.
Yeah, over the years, what you just said to add to that is I have 2 business degrees, and I am a huge fan of small business, independent business, and it's kind of like a second passion. I've consulted dozens of other people on companies and starting their businesses up, and now I'm literally doing work with a friend of mine who's starting up her own business, and I'm putting down a list of all the stuff you need to do that they don't tell you what to do in order, and I can jumpstart and get that business ready. You know, back in the day, it used to be 7 things that I'd say, if you do these 7 things, I'll take you seriously, which really weren't that hard to do. You know, now it's a list of like 25, 30 things, but there's no book out there to tell you what to do and why to do this. And then you can pay somebody to do it all for you, but then you're sitting there. It's like, great, you gave me the garage, you gave me the tools, and you gave me all the manuals how to fix cars. Now what do I do? You know,
go out there and sell it.
Go out there and sell it. You know, you got to go knock on everyone's door and say, I'm a mechanic, you know, and sell it.
No, what you need to do is you need to find a life coach that can teach you how to sell.
See,
that's what you need to do.
There's the other point of this. And I go, people, while I'm not looking down on anyone that has a job or business doing this, but unfortunately in the industry, what I get concerned with is, and I don't necessarily battle it, but seeing people that take advantage of people that don't know. That's what happened to me a lot when I was starting my small business. Everyone wanted $1 to help me out. When somebody could have come along with a clear conscience and said, you know what? Just read this pamphlet by the SBA, Small Business Administration. It basically walks you through on everything you're going to want to do to start a small business. And that's out there. That information's out there.
Yeah.
But like, again, you can't necessarily teach. Not everyone's going to get their path to rock star in their own way. You can, and if you could help them with what through your program would do is get them to identify those key markers or key goals from other industry professionals going, you'll start, I hear the ringtone. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of interviews. I hear the same things. And then I'm like, hey, I should adapt that. Or maybe somebody hears what we're talking about and they adapt that from what Felix said. You know, that kind of stuff is really good information that needs to be heard out there and reinforced over and over again, in a way. So
you're absolutely right, Darran. And you know, there's a lot of great free information out there. There's only one. Well, there's a few situations and problems with it. Sometimes you don't know if it's justifiable or if it really works, right? You're going up on YouTube and you're you know, trying to find your answers to questions that you have. That's all cool and dandy. You know, you go to reputable people that, you know, have a good, you know, 5-star rating on YouTube or whatever the case may be. What I'm getting at is, yeah, you've got a lot of great free information online, but if you want the gems, you got to go to the pros. Yeah. And the pros want to get paid. And there's nothing wrong with that. They deserve to get paid.
There you go. And that's,
you know what? It's going to give you value that you can take up to the next level.
Well, just like I was doing the consulting for my friend, I was as a joke, and I'm probably still going to do this. I used to say, oh, I'll charge $2,500 to do my business consulting services. I do same with websites. I kind of build websites for people that would get them up and running so they could do it themselves and not have to pay a developer tens of thousands of dollars to fix a typo on their website. It's like kind of stuff. But I wanted to type in everything I was going to do and throw it into Chat GPT and say, as a business consultant, and basing it on this information of what I'd be setting up, how much would this cost somebody now to do this for, say,
$5,000,
probably $25,000 to $30,000 of the work. When I look at it, if I was getting paid as a consultant and I was working with somebody, say 10 to 15 hours a week,
yeah,
I could easily see that being billed at $75 to $100 an hour.
As you should.
For 6 months minimum to get them up and running and answer questions and be there for them and the work that would go into that game. And that's okay, $2,000, $3,000 a month, maybe times 6, that's 18, 20,000 plus tax and change. And if I had 5 clients doing that a year, okay, I'm making a good $100K a year. Just business consulting. And of course, they're probably going to refer me out to other clients, and then I'll bring out their staff and build the organization like that. But the point is but I want to make sure the people I work with, though, are ready and in that rock star mentality mindset. One of those biggest things, you got to look at the negatives or the parachutes or the rocks or the molasses is what I just came out of. I was talking to you, that can get in the way and prevent you from growing. And there's a lot of mental prep you have to go into when you're your own business owner. It's one thing, and a lot of people don't understand, it's working for your own company. You are everything. Yeah. And you can't compare that to a 40-hour week job where you clock in and clock out. There's a punch clock, or even going into an office infrastructure. A lot of people I not necessarily used to laugh, but I've worked for companies like Nordstrom's and Apple and was at the top of my game, top company accolades for sales and customer service in those organizations. And, when you walk out, you got to remember, you don't have Apple and Nordstrom's paying for the infrastructure of the store, paying for the buying of the clothing, keeping the heat and lights on, and the infrastructure and the marketing to draw customers to come into that. And they think they can sell when usually a lot of people that are over glorified customer service agents. And they're selling because the customer's walking through the door coming into them. They're not out there knocking on the door saying, come to me. Yeah. When you become an entrepreneur, like you said earlier, you got to go knock on people's doors and be out there. And ABN, ABC, for those that don't know, always be networking, always be closing. Out of one of my favorite movies, Glengarry Glen Ross, it's just the truth. You and it's all on you. And you got to understand, you're wearing those 14, 15, 26, 38 different hats until you can pluck people into those or find people to collaborate with and work with and say, oh, I can source that out now. I can source that out now. And, you got to be
mindset ready, right?
Mindset ready. Absolutely.
You got to cut all the fat out of your life, right?
Yep.
You got to eat right.
Yes.
You got to sleep right.
Yep.
And you got to work out right. You got to have not even balance. You just got to know how to timeline yourself so that you put systems in place to make you successful.
Yeah. And the biggest one, whatever the poison is, it doesn't have to necessarily be drugs or alcohol. It could be food or lack of sleep or lack of, getting sidetracked. You got to really prioritize when you're doing this stuff. I know with your resume alone, hearing you, it's almost like it reminds me so much of myself.
Yeah. And, we're on the grind, man.
Somebody, that same person I worked with a long time ago, he's still my best friend to this day, known me since I was 18 years old for like 29 years. Yeah. Something like, no, wait. 29 years. Only since I was 18. Anyways, 30 some odd years. He's only 33 years. He asked me, do I ever go back and watch my old footage? And I go, no. He goes, why not? I go, because I was there and I produced it and I got more footage I got to produce. If I sat back and watched every episode of mine from day one of just the DJ sessions, and I had that on 8 hours a day. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have enough time in a day. Anyway.
Yeah, every 10 days would be 80 episodes. So that'd be 100 days would be 800 episodes. Yeah. Okay. That would take me a full year at 8 hours a day to get through my entire library. And I'm not going to sit there and just watch every single episode with it on in the background.
Why?
No, why?
Unless you're learning something or trying to change a certain, part of the show, then I can see, okay, let's look at this. Okay, let's do it better. I can see that, but man, it takes so much time.
Exactly. So I always laugh at some of the things I've been suggested in the past going, why would I do that? But anyways, love them.
I don't even have time to watch a whole football game anymore. I just watch the highlights. Seriously, I love football, but I cannot sit there and watch a 3-hour football game.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can't.
You know, when it comes to, we talked about a little bit about planning for the rockstar mindset, being in the rockstar mindset. What is one of your worst habits that you still have or have been having to work on or maintain constantly to make sure you don't slip back and have it affect you? Do you have any number one bad habits? You're like, oh, hey, I succeed. I'm still working on that. Anything you have or a piece of advice on how to
I
clear
would
that
say,
out?
I'm doing pretty good. Like in the last 2 months, I lost 12 pounds, but every now and then, I'll get a little bingy. I'll get a little bingy and I'll go on my Cuban, rice and beans and ropa vieja and plátano maduros. So,
All right, now you're making me hungry for lunch.
just not going overboard with the food that's not so eco-friendly. You know what I'm saying? So I got to watch it because I will do a deep dive if it gets too tasty. Instead of it just being a weekend retreat, it'll turn into an all week binge, and that's what I got to stay away from. So I got to be real disciplined when it comes to that. Working out, I'm pretty religious, doing it at least 3 to 5 times a week. So, sometimes especially when you're coming back from vacation, it's the hardest to get back in the gym. You know what I mean? I'll
Yeah.
take like a week off when I come back. So that sucks. I hate that. But other than that, man, the only other thing that can get me is like a good program on Netflix. Like, what's the name of that? What's the name of that program that was on for a while? I forgot the name of it. Anyway, like one of those series that comes on that you just get hooked to. I like want to watch the whole series. You know what I mean? So I try to stay away from watching 10 episodes in one day. On the weekends or something like that. So that those are my only like the downfalls that I might grow into.
Sounds like we got the same bad habits. I'm a foodie myself, and when I cook, everyone sees my food pics online. They're like, Darran, who is eating all that food you cook? I'm Italian. I was raised to cook for
I
6 to 10
Italian
people.
food, man.
So it's like any meal I make, I have to now kind of like, I at least cook double meals now. But I used to cook for like 6 to 10 people, and I wasn't trying to food prep. It's just I don't know how to cook single portions.
Yeah.
And then I pile 2 servings on my plate. And everyone would think that I eat the whole damn plate, but no, I'd eat 1.5 of it maybe and put the rest of it in leftovers and leftovers, everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, that was a big one. But you mentioned losing weight over 12 months. Me jumping back in the saddle after the 8.5 month hiatus and getting back into things. I actually gained 25 pounds just sitting in the studio chair, setting everything up and being back in the chair, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking 10 hours in the chair, and still getting up and trying to stay healthy without then going and making my big meal and doing the Netflix binge. That's kind of my after work routine stuff. But I'm looking into some VR workout programs here. So
you got to do it, man. Your health is wealth, bro. You got to do it, man.
Yeah.
And work out on your legs. Legs, that's the foundation of your body, bro. Okay. I do legs twice a week religiously.
I usually wear these when I'm watching my shows. I'm down here kicking my legs.
You got to do your leg exercises, calf raises, the whole nine. You got leg extensions, squats. Do it all, man, because that is going to give you the foundation that you need to, you're not a DJ, but if you're DJing and you're going to be DJing for 6-7 hours, man, that when you get older, that could be a problem with your back. But if you got your exercise in check, you're gonna be good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Switching back to a little bit of topic about talking about new and up and coming people and protéging or legacy. If you could take one non-famous person and put them in the spotlight who means a lot to you, other than a direct friend or family member, who would that be and why?
Non-famous person, what, like a DJ?
Somebody that you thinks deserves the spotlight. Could be a DJ, producer, dancer, business mentor, anyone that you would say, this person really needs to shine.
People. Yeah, there's
quite. Hey, I know you have a list.
Yeah, I got quite a few people. Yeah, I've got musicians and programmers that I work with, and they're so talented, but they like just doing that programming. They don't really want to be out in the spotlight. So there's quite a few. There's one guy named Jimmy that works with me. He's really good at programming beats. He helps me with the break beat stuff that I do, and yeah, I always encourage him to be an artist, man. But he likes, like some people just want to be session players, man. What can I tell you?
Mhm.
But yeah, so talented, and that's what he wants to do. Then God bless him. You know what I mean? But yeah, he can very easily be a rock star, very
Nice.
easily. Yeah.
And you recently signed on board with MN2S, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And congratulations on that.
Thank
Super
you.
organization. Like I said, working with Megan over there, that's who put us together. One of the things that they're looking to help you with is, or you're looking to work with them on, is getting your music out there to the digital streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And can you tell us why that is so? For those that don't know, or maybe be looking at this, of course, everyone has online, like you said, they can jump on a YouTube video and say, do this. But why get the help of an organization to do that? Why not just do that yourself? What made you make the choice to want to jump in and get that behemoth of a company to come in and help you out there?
Yeah, well, they're new to me too. One of the things that piqued my interest in the beginning with MNS2 is I saw a DJ that they signed. I forgot his name. Forgive me. But they signed a DJ and he was promoting them on his social pages. And I was like, man, this guy's like cheerleading the shit out of these people. They got to be good. Or at least so far they're good. you know so I said, well, hell, let me go do my research. And then I did a deep dive and I started learning about their history, the different talent that they represent, the licensing deals that they've brokered in the past. And I went up on their website and I was like, okay, I want to set up a call with them and really, get a chance to talk to the movers and shakers and who's in charge and who would be the person in charge of running the distribution department for the brand and all of that. And I met Georgie and I met Megan and they were like super nice. And we went back and forth with the agreement and we finally came to terms. And I'm happy with what I was presented with, and I believe they're happy. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. And right now, what the main thing is to promote the heck out of what we got going on. So my first single is featuring Melody. She's a singer out of Africa. She's incredible. She's amazing. I love working with her. As a matter of fact, I've got like 3 or 4 songs that I've produced with her. But this Your Last Call is just it's a phenomenal record. We've got more remixes on the way. So I'm really excited about working with them because here's the thing. They took the time to sit down and we did a think tank session, right? Where we talked about the promotions. We talked about the marketing. They gave me some ideas that I should be doing on my socials. So they had a lot of great advice to bring to the table. And I appreciate that. You're not going to get that on a lot of these distribution platforms. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a bunch of them out there, right? There's a bunch of platforms where you could upload your music, like DistroKid. All right, I mentioned one, like DistroKid, and ain't nobody gonna be calling you trying to groom you or give you advice. So
Yeah.
that was a breath, a breath of fresh air, and I like the way everything's been done so far. So now, the goal is to try to get it out there, especially with my music. I got very commercially house EDM vibe music. Because of all my radio background, I'm used to hearing hit records all the time. So that's my mindset. Yo, let's make a hit. Let's make a hit record. Yeah, we'll do versions that'll live in the clubs. That's cool. But my main thing is to make hit music.
Mhm.
That's what I'm all about. So, with that being said, I've got all my, radio ties. Thank God that I still got a lot of my relationships with great people that are still doing radio. So, we bounce ideas back and forth. I throw them my new music. They let me know, oh yeah, this could fly right now. Oh no, you might want to do another mix or whatever the advice is. But it's just great to be in the community. And now that I've retired from radio, to really get a chance to produce full time and just own the craft.
Mhm. After all of this, what do you prefer other than eating and trying to prevent yourself from binge watching Netflix? What do you prefer to do when you're taking a break from all this stuff? I mean, do you
Oh,
get downtime?
yeah, I play racquetball, and
What?
I scuba dive.
Challenge.
Yeah, you play racquetball?
I grew up with a racquetball racket in my hand. Been playing
Oh,
since I was
let's
3.
go. What? Where are you? Are you a B or C or A?
My dad was world class top in the game
I'm
of
not talking
racquetball.
about your dad. I'm talking about you.
Used to throw racquetball. No, used to throw racquetball tournaments. And like when I say I grew up in health clubs, my dad oversaw the whole for 42 health clubs.
Okay.
Was support services. Racquetball was part of that. So I grew up. My daycare was a racquetball court growing up.
Nice. All
Like
right.
you go to the club, he goes, go back to court 10 and take this racket and take this ball and go play.
Okay, so you got a little bit of game.
Yeah, so I got serves upon serves.
You got a little bit of game.
I
Okay,
might be a
well, we
little
don't have to
rusty. I
take
might
it-
just be able to jump into a court right this second. But you know, if I had a teleporter, Felix, I'm jumping in it right now. You got a court reserved for us? I'm coming down. We're having some fun.
Are you still an avid racquetball player, or you haven't played in a minute?
Duck to water, riding a bike. I can get up in there. I can get up in there. I mean,
all right. Well,
my dad just turned 89. It's turned 89 this year.
My dad's 89 too.
He's still allowed. I mean, he's not still allowed. He's still sometimes able to get on a pickleball court and play pickleball. Probably not racquetball. A little too fast for him right now, but he can
I haven't gotten to the pickleball stage, and there's a lot of young kids that play pickleball. It just doesn't pique my interest right now.
No, it's resurging. It's kind of hitting that resurgence. They got the pickle and chicken and pickle
or something like that. I saw that. Where did I see that?
I know there's one in Arizona, but
in Wyoming or something like that. I was at a conference and I saw that. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of making a resurgence. It's a quick, easy game. It's not as heavy as tennis.
Yeah,
quick, light, fun. But
so racquetball, scuba diving, and spending time with my kids.
Well, I got to get my PADI license and come down there because I'm sure there's some great places to be in.
Oh man,
in Miami,
we'll go lobster trapping, bro. You'll love it.
Now you're talking to my palate.
Yeah,
awesome.
We'll go down to the Keys, the Penny Camp.
Well, Felix, we're looking to also get an exclusive mix from you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll look forward to getting that. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
Not just, support. Much appreciated. Very grateful to be on this platform. Thank you very much for taking the time on this interview. We can give everyone my socials and just follow me, man, because I'm fun to be with.
Best place for people to go do that
at DJ Sama on Instagram. And we also have Real Vibes Music on Instagram. That's my distribution label. But yeah, at DJ Sama, you'll be able to grab me there. And then on TikTok, it's DJ Felix Sama.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show today. I know we're going to be following up with you because we took an hour pre-show and we're supposed to take 20 minutes. And so there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about, collab on. Looking forward to following you, your career, your businesses, and everything you got going on down there in Miami.
Thank you, man. Peace.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find all our information, socials there. We have over 700 news stories a month that get published. We have 2,700 past episodes, live interviews, exclusive mixes, our new music section. We even got a VR nightclub and mobile app you can download. Take us on the go. Be some cool stuff coming out that way, some sprinkles that have been added to the sites, but all that and more can be found at thedjsessions.com. I'm your host, Darran, coming to you from Seattle, Washington in the virtual studios. That's Felix Sama coming in from Miami, Florida for the DJ Sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.